Hello everybody, it's time for my April wrap-up. Woo! I didn't read very many books in the month of April, but I thoroughly enjoyed every book that I did read. So let's get on with it, do this rapidy wrap-up. Let's do it. The first book that I read was Rebel Belle by Rachel Hawkins, and this was the Booksplosion book of the month for April, and I have to say that this is probably one of my favorite books that I've read all year, which is surprising. I was not expecting to enjoy this book as much as I did. I went into it thinking that it was going to be super girly just because of the cover. Don't judge a book by a cover, y'all. This book was so good. There's so much action and humor, and it's just so good. I had such a fun time reading this book. If you don't know what Rebel Belle is about, it is about this girl named Harper, who is a Southern Belle Queen Bee. She's class president, she's got straight A's, and she's in the running to become homecoming queen, so basically Harper has it made. But everything changes the night of homecoming when Harper makes her way to the bathroom to touch up her lip gloss. While she's in the bathroom, her janitor runs in and locks the door behind him. And this is where things get a little bit weird. Harper finds out that her janitor isn't really her janitor at all, and that he is a paladin, and that he is dying. And right before he dies, he transfers his powers to Harper. Now you're probably wondering, what the heck is a paladin? A paladin is basically a protector. They have somebody that they have to protect at all times. And it is Harper's job to figure out who exactly she is protecting. One thing that I really enjoyed about this book was the pacing. We are introduced to all these different magical elements. It doesn't take us forever to figure out what a paladin is, and we aren't flooded with information. We are given just the right amount of information as to what a paladin does and who exactly Harper is protecting. This story keeps you entertained all the way through. You've got this witty humor, you've got these action sequences, and some pretty epic plot twists, not gonna lie. I would highly recommend picking up this book. The next book that I read was Coraline by Neil Gaiman. I had to read this for an assignment, and I'm so glad that I got the chance to read this because I've been wanting to read more Neil Gaiman this year, and this was the perfect opportunity to pick up one of his books and read it. Coraline is about a girl named Coraline. Obviously. Coraline and her family move to a new city and a new house where Coraline knows nobody, so she finds herself pretty lonely and her parents can't really entertain her because they are super busy. And because of this, Coraline does a lot of exploring, and one day she comes upon a hidden door. And this door leads to a world similar to her own, yet not so similar. In this new world, Coraline is introduced to two people who are basically replicas of her own parents, except they actually pay attention to her. And Coraline is given the choice to stay with these new people that she just met, or to return back to her parents. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I had such a good time reading it. Neil Gaiman is such a fantastic storyteller. If you have not picked up any of Neil Gaiman's stories, I would suggest starting with this book. I think it would be a perfect book to start with Neil Gaiman. And then I read Winger by Andrew Smith, a book that crushed me in the best and worst way possible, if that makes any sense at all. Winger follows a boy named Ryan Dean, who is a 14-year-old junior at a boarding school. And we basically just follow Ryan Dean's life at this boarding school. A major theme in this book is relationships. We have all these different relationships that Ryan Dean is balancing throughout this book. We've got his relationship with his roommate, his relationship with this girl that he really wants to happen, and his friendships that he's trying to balance at the same time. I can't really say that I found myself getting attached to the main character in any way, and in some cases I really didn't like him. He was a little bit too full of himself, and it felt like the world just revolved around Ryan Dean. But in a weird way, I really liked that about him. I really enjoy reading about flawed characters. It can get kind of annoying reading about these perfect characters that always get their way. I think Andrew Smith did an excellent job at capturing such a young voice through Ryan Dean. He also did a fantastic job at shattering my heart into a million pieces by the end of the book. Thank you, Andrew Smith, for breaking my heart. And the last book I read this month was If I Stay by Gayle Forman. I read this book alongside Maureen from Maureen Kiwi and Jess from Prices Wong. This book is about a girl named Mia and her family who get in a horrible car accident. Throughout the book, Mia is in a concussion, but she is also outside of herself, observing people who come into the hospital to visit her. And we also get a peek into Mia's life through a series of flashbacks. Mia has the choice to stay or to leave her life behind. I think one of the main things that I got out of this story was appreciating the people in your life. It definitely opens up your eyes to the fact that the people that you love and cherish in your life could easily be gone at any time. I know that that sounds depressing, but it's definitely an important message that we all need to be reminded about sometimes. I really enjoyed this book, but it didn't necessarily blow me away, and I also felt like the ending was a little bit abrupt. But overall, I had a good time reading this book, even though it was definitely an emotional one. So those were all the books that I read this month. Let me know down below if you guys have read any of these books, or if you plan to. I'd love to know. Also, let me know what books you read in the month of April. I will see you guys soon with a new video. What even?